She was a loving mother, a quiet soul, a woman who worked hard, loved harder, and never hurt a soul. But someone was watching. Someone obsessed. Someone dangerous. And one night, she vanished. Welcome to SPARKO, where we uncover the darkest corners of history, crime, and the human psyche. Today, we're diving into a case that still chills the spine of California, the haunting murder of Dorothy Jane Scott. Dorothy Jane Scott was just 32 years old in 1980, a kind-hearted single mother living in Stanton, California. She had one child, a 4-year-old son named Sean, who was the center of her universe. Dorothy lived with her aunt and worked 2 jobs. By day, she worked as a secretary at Swinger's Psych Shop in Anaheim, a hippie-style head shop. By night, she helped with bookkeeping at Custom John's head shop, both owned by the same man. She was a devout Christian, didn't date, avoided parties, and preferred spending time with her family. If you passed her on the street, you wouldn't think twice. She was calm, quiet, and kind. But someone did notice her, and they were watching very closely. In early 1980, Dorothy began receiving strange phone calls. At first, they were unsettling. The voice on the other end was a man she didn't recognize. Sometimes he would declare his love for her. Other times, his words turned threatening, chilling her to the bone. He described details of her day, what she wore, where she went, who she talked to. One day, he told her to come outside, and there, on the windshield of her car, was a single dead rose. She told her mother, "I think someone at work might be stalking me," but she couldn't be sure. She didn't have enemies. She didn't date. And yet, the calls kept coming. On May 28, 1980, everything changed. That evening, Dorothy drove to a staff meeting at work. During the meeting, one of her coworkers, Conrad Bostron, began feeling unwell. His arm looked like it had been bitten by a black widow spider. Dorothy and another coworker, Pam Head, decided to drive Conrad to the UC Irvine Medical Center. At the hospital, Dorothy stayed with her friends until Conrad was treated and released. She never left their side. But something odd happened. Around 11 p.m., she told them she would get the car and pull around. Pam and Conrad waited and waited, but Dorothy never returned. Suddenly, they saw Dorothy's car, a white 1973 Toyota station wagon, speeding out of the parking lot with its headlights off. They assumed something urgent had come up, but Dorothy never made it home. By the next morning, her parents reported her missing. For 2 weeks, there was nothing. No clues, no signs, no Dorothy. Then the phone rang. Her mother answered. It was the same voice Dorothy had feared. He simply said, "I've got her," and hung up. These calls continued for 4 years. Every Wednesday, the voice would call to taunt the family. "Is Dorothy home? I've killed her. She's mine." The police tried tracing the calls, but they always ended before they could track them. Then, in August 1984, a construction crew discovered human remains along Santa Ana Canyon Road, 30 miles from where Dorothy disappeared. The skeleton was partially charred, along with dog bones and a turquoise ring, one Dorothy had worn. Dental records confirmed it. After 4 long years, Dorothy Jane Scott had been found. Even after her remains were found, the calls continued. The family's phone rang again. Is Dorothy home? Who was this man? He knew things only the killer could know, but police couldn't identify him. He never revealed his name, never slipped up. He vanished as mysteriously as he appeared. Some speculated it was someone from work. Others believed it was a customer, someone infatuated from afar. But to this day, the man behind the calls and the murder remains unknown. What makes a stalker tick? Experts say stalkers often fall into a fantasy world. They imagine relationships that don't exist. And when their fantasies aren't reciprocated, they lash out. In Dorothy's case, The stalker seemed to shift from romantic to hostile. One day he'd claim love. The next, he'd speak of murder. This fluctuation is typical of what psychologists call erotomania, a delusional belief that someone is in love with you, even when there's no interaction. The stalker in Dorothy's case wasn't just obsessed. He was methodical. He waited, watched, knew her schedule. And when the moment was right, he struck. Over the years, dozens of theories have emerged. One suspect, Mike Butler, was the brother of a coworker. He was said to have an unhealthy fixation on Dorothy and access to her workplace. But no evidence ever tied him to the case. Others speculated about multiple stalkers. Maybe more than one person was watching her. Could it have been someone hiding in plain sight? Police investigated, but the lack of physical evidence and advanced forensic tools in the 1980s made the trail go cold. To this day, no one has been charged in connection to Dorothy Jane Scott's murder. Dorothy's parents, Jacob and Vera Scott, never gave up. For years, they pleaded for answers, sat by the phone, held on to hope. They published appeals in newspapers, put up posters, appeared on local TV, but the answers never came. When Dorothy's remains were found, they buried her under a headstone that reads, "Beloved daughter, taken too soon." Her case reminds us of how fragile safety is, how easily the line between peace and horror can be crossed, especially when no one's watching, but someone is. The case of Dorothy Jane Scott teaches us about the dangers of invisible threats. In a world full of loud violence, sometimes the quiet ones are the most dangerous, the ones who stalk in shadows, who smile at you but burn with obsession underneath. Stalking today is taken far more seriously. Laws have evolved. Technology helps trace calls. But back then, Dorothy didn't have those protections. She was alone, and in the end, she paid the price. A loving mother silenced, a stalker who vanished into the shadows, and a family still waiting for justice. If you were moved by this story, share it. Keep Dorothy's name alive. And remember, behind every unsolved case is a family still waiting. This is SPARKO, and this was the murder of Dorothy Jane Scott.